What is going on, everybody? Good afternoon, and welcome to a Thursday, May 2nd edition of Established to Run's NBA Injury Analysis Show. I am Mark Dankenbring, joined here, as always, by Mike Gallagher, and we have some exciting Game 6s on tap tonight. We have the Milwaukee Bucks at Indiana Pacers. Pacers up 3-2, trying to close it out at home, and then the New York Knicks are heading to Philly to try and close it out in Philly. So a couple exciting games on tap. How you feeling today, Mike?
Pretty good. Got a nice little 4.5 mile hike in. Two podcasts already recorded. One should be out there pretty soon. Dink and I talked Eastern Conference, and then the creme de la creme. Beyond excited for Wolves Nuggets, man. Just was so fun to talk to Dink about that. That'll be on your pod feeds tomorrow.
Awesome.
I mean, writing all these Game 6 matchups, I'm over it. Like writing matchups for game 1 for Saturday is just so fun.
Yeah, gotta love exploring the new frontier there, and obviously one of the most exciting series matchups we'll get there with the Wolves and Nuggets. So definitely excited to listen to that. You and Dink always crush the analysis, so I'm sure that will be awesome per usual.
Thanks.
All right, let's start though tonight with the Bucks side. There have been some big injury updates here coming from Adrian Wojnarowski. The Bucks side, we still have Giannis listed as doubtful on the official injury report, but Woj tweeted that both Giannis and Dame are going to try and suit up tonight and potentially return after, Giannis has missed the whole series and Dame the last two games. So Damian Lillard officially got the upgrade to questionable on the injury report with that Achilles issue. So he seems a bit more likely to play at this point. In our current projections, we have Dame projected in and Giannis projected out, just given the questionable and doubtful tags there. That's typically how we ride with things. But Mike, how do you see this situation going, and any other insight that you have here on the on the Dame and Giannis injury reports?
Yeah, the Woj thing kind of came out of nowhere. So Doc Rivers said that Damian Lillard had done no court work as of the conclusion of Game 5. So he apparently practiced yesterday and it went pretty well. Don't have any. That's just my guess. If they got upgraded, but they were planning to have him on the court yesterday, and again, it seems like it went pretty well. We'll see. This is a pretty severe injury. We know the reporting from Chris Haynes was pretty bleak, so maybe there's a chance he doesn't play. Could see a tap out situation, but they're fighting for their lives here, so maybe he'll give it a go. We know Dame's a pretty tough guy. He's played through a lot of stuff here. Yeah, Giannis has done some court work for call it a half a week or so, but it wasn't that close. And again, not getting upgraded, but he's going to try to play apparently according to Woj. We'll see. As you mentioned, we have him out for projections, but that could change pretty quickly. So yeah, be on your toes here. Line movement hasn't been too much. It's down to 6 now, some 5.5s out there, some 6.5, so kind of all over the place. But yeah, pretty tough read here. Teams are this playoffs, man. We've seen Cat beat his timeline. Kawhi tried and failed. Teams will just go for it and kind of throw caution to the wind. Lucas said he wouldn't have played in the regular season. This is hashtag playoff mode, and those Q tags turned to probable tags pretty quick.
No doubt. Yeah, you mentioned the line movement. The Pacers were -8 this morning, and now typically down to -6 at most spots. And just kind of how you mentioned too, we're flying blind a little bit here. We're kind of at the mercy of Woj and other reporters, because the Bucks also did not hold a formal shoot around this morning, so we don't really have any insight coming from there. It's just kind of we're at the mercy of reporters here. So be interesting to see how it goes. And yeah, even if they return, if they do return tonight, what do you think their effectiveness would be? You mentioned, maybe Dame taps out. Like, is this something you would feel, how confident would you feel in their health, given it is potentially their last game of the season, and they might just be going out there to give it a last shot, and it might not go all that well.
Yeah, as MW noted in chat, Dame said after the game that he's like basically just going to be a decoy out there, so it could be that kind of a situation. We'll see. Middleton's been playing really well. They've upped his pick and roll game. Patrick Beverley played great. 12 assists. I think he had 14 potential, so he ran pretty hot there. But yeah, definitely a chance. Like we'll talk about it on DFS show. Tough click because these guys are clearly not 100%.
Sounds good. Yeah, and then also on the injury report, we do have Chris Middleton and Patrick Beverley still listed probable. Both played last game and came out of it with no setbacks or anything. Beverley played 36.5 minutes and Middleton got up to 40. So fully expecting those guys to be full go tonight, despite being listed probable on the injury report. Anything you want to cover else on the Bucks before we head to the other side?
Yeah, Middleton called off a sub. They put a sub at the table for him in the third quarter, and he said, "No, I'm good." So he's feeling quite spry. Obviously, he's played fantastic in this series. But yeah, and then Bobby Portis post festival completely killed Pascal Siakam on both ends. We'll talk about Pascal in a second here, and then Malik Beasley was left for dead. But he played barely the first half, and then comes out gunning, much to the chagrin of our playback bets there. But so I think expecting mostly the same situation, but Dame would obviously be in Beasley's spot if he did start. And then also just want to note it was tight. They went 7-man in the second half until garbage time. Danilo Gallinari and Pat Connaughton were basically the 6th and 7th men.
Sounds good. On the Pacers side, injury report relatively straightforward here from what we've seen the last few games. Benedict Mathurin remains out, and then Tyrese Halliburton still listed questionable with the low back spasms, but he's made it through the last couple games completely fine with that. So not too worried there, despite the questionable tag. Any insight here on the Pacers and any other notes you have for them?
Yeah, just Halliburton. This is not a fake thing. We saw him have pregame back spasms. This is the third time he's listed. We saw it pop out of nowhere 3 games ago. And yeah, not 100%. He's clearly getting his back wrapped. He has a little tool he uses to stretch his back on the sideline, as they keep showing on the broadcast. So he's not 100%. Minutes have been down. Effectiveness was pretty good 2 games ago, but that was because Patrick Beverley was banged up. Beverly's been kind of on him and been able to keep him in check. So we'll see if he can get going. Pascal Siakam really cooled off. Crazy stat from matchups. So the first 2 games, he shot. He had 1 second here. Don't have it pulled up. Sorry guys. Yeah. So the first 2 games, 30 points on 22 jumpers. Last 3, 5 on 19, 0.26 per possession. So his jumper's gone bad. He's missing his free throws, 2 of 8 from the line. Bobby Portis, that was the adjustment, and it's worked in spades. He's been fantastic. So, and then also just want to note the Bucks made some really wacky matchups. They put Brook Lopez on Nesmith a little bit. Quite funny. They threw the Pacers off in a big way, and the Pacers just didn't have their game going at all. 92 points, really low. Their points in transition from this game were their lowest all season, including the regular season. Their catch and shoot stuff got cut in half. They only had 12 unguarded catch and shoots from 23 and a half. The Bucks just owned them. So home court energy will be big, but then these Q tags possibly being upgraded, or D tag in Giannis's case, upgrading. This is a topsy-turvy kind of a situation here for the Pacers.
Given this is a potential closeout game for the Pacers here, you mentioned at home, this is clearly their best shot to close out the series. Do you expect the rotation to be a little tighter and anyone to get cut out specifically? Any kind of updates there on potentially the back end of the rotation?
So I think my biggest stand is I think Miles Turner plays a ton. He just has to play a ton. He's been very good. Mm-hmm. He kind of cooled off in the last game, but we'll see how much Halliburton can give. We saw coaches do this all the time where things aren't going their way and they just, we saw Isaiah Jackson. So I think they're going to go into it because it was working well. They crushed them 3 games in a row and then they just didn't have the energy. So I'd expect them to start the same 5, Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, Ben Shepherd is the plan. And then if things go sideways, maybe we see Jackson or Doug McDermott. Maybe we see Jalen Smith as well. So, but I feel pretty good. They're going to go in there with the plan of the 8 they've been running out there.
Sounds good. Let's head to the second game of the slate, a full 2.5 hours after our initial tip. It is an early tip tonight. Should have mentioned that for Milwaukee at Indiana. They tip at 6:30 Eastern time. So make sure if you are playing DFS or getting your bets in, know that they're tipping off a half hour earlier than typical at 6:30 Eastern time. And then this New York at Philadelphia game will tip off at 9 o'clock Eastern time as the Knicks head to Philly to try and close this one out after that wild comeback from Tyrese Maxey, essentially down 6 points with 20 seconds to go, and was able to pull out that W in overtime. Just an absolutely wild turn of events there in New York. So they will head to Philly. And not too much going on here on the injury report that we haven't discussed throughout the series. The Knicks are without Julius Randle still, and then Bojan Bogdanovic is out with a left foot sprain that caused him to have surgery. So he is out for the rest of the postseason. And we talked about this on Tuesday. Do we think the Knicks would cut down to a 7-man or, still play Precious? And they indeed, Tibbs did go full Tibbs and went 7-man. Josh Hart got up to the full 53 minutes. And so full 48 and then the 5 in overtime. Just wild to see that. But yeah, any news or notes here? We do have Mitchell Robinson listed questionable still with that left ankle sprain. but he played 25 minutes last game and I think looked fine overall. So any insight on Mitch Robb and just any other news and notes you have for the Knicks?
Yeah, besides the gaff on fouling Maxey, I thought he played pretty well, Mitch Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
So a surprise to see him play that much and that well. 2 games ago, warmed up. Woj tweeted he was kind of expected to play and then didn't play and then left the arena in a walking boot. So pretty surprising to see him get that much run and again, play pretty well. So it's going to be pretty close to a 50-50 split. And then, Hart, I think the plan is to play 48 again. Same with OG, probably playing 45 plus. We'll see if Brunson could play 45 plus, probably a good bet there. And then DiVincenzo is something to watch. He's played quite poorly, shot horrible on catch and shoot stuff. That's his bread and butter. And then Deuce McBride has been playing well. And obviously Maxey went off, but he's been a better option than anyone they've had. We've seen OG guard him, hasn't been able to slow him down. Josh Hart has been able to slow him down, but Deuce, I think, makes life tougher for him. And Deuce is kind of making shots, and he's been good in transition. So a lot of things that working in Deuce McBride's favor here. We saw Dante DiVincenzo kind of get phased out with the Warriors at times. This time it might be Deuce, cutting. I'd be surprised. I think Deuce is. I think Deuce still comes off the bench, but the leash is getting pretty short for Dante.
Yeah, no doubt. He definitely in the shot has not quite been there for Dante. And I noticed early in the last game, he didn't seem as confident just to pull the trigger right away. There was a shot initially where he hesitated and then ended up shooting and got blocked on a 3-point attempt. So I think his confidence right now is a little shaken, just hasn't been playing all that well. So we'll be interesting to see if he can put together a good game and get those minutes up there. But yeah, I think at the beginning of the series, you and Drew were both saying this was a Deuce McBride series as well. So it has played out a little bit that way.
Yeah, a lot of the role players have been pretty. A lot of role player takes have been pretty good. So it's important. We talked a lot about that in the pod coming up. But yeah, go ahead.
Nice. Sounds great. Let's transition over to the 76ers side. Robert Covington listed out here. And then Joel Embiid is the only one listed on the injury report. He is questionable with that left knee injury management. They did drop the migraine listing that he had on Tuesday. So hopefully he is over that and kind of the illness that they were talking through. But obviously Joel is fighting through it, had a tough game there in New York. So I would imagine coming back at home, he is excited to avenge that poor previous game. But any insight here on Embiid and any other notes on the Sixers?
Yeah, just battling, man. We'll see if he's still dealing with it. We know the Sixers will routinely not list players with illnesses. Multiple times they've not listed guys pop up questionable and don't sit. Obviously, I'm expecting everyone to play. It's a postseason game, so a little bit different. But my bottom line is here: I don't think that he may be over that. Which also ties into Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre was really sick. They were saying after the game, and he played one of the biggest plays of the game with the tip that kind of rolled around the basket, big basket for him. So he may not be well considering how sick he was. I mean, Luka Doncic said he's been sick for like 2 weeks. So I think Kelly Oubre could be limited. Tobias Harris bounced back, man. Like we said on the podcast, this was potentially his last game as a Sixer, and he goes out there and turns in a really good game. So yeah, and then Embiid's going to have to battle through this knee thing. You see in the fourth quarter, every fourth quarter, he is hobbling around. Matchup's not good. And then the other note from rotation-wise, we saw a little bit more Nick Batum. I think that was to help offset some of the rebounding discrepancy they've had. So, yeah, should be pretty tight here. They're going to run their starters a bunch. Batum will be locked and loaded. Paul Reed will play the non-Embiids, and then we'll see Campaign kind of fill in some gaps. Certainly expecting Maxey to play 45+. They might even full 48 him.
For sure. Yeah, you can see on the screen just how tight it really was for them. Almost like a glorified 6.5 man there with Batum, getting starters minutes off the bench, and then Campaign really the only other notable bench player there, getting up to 14. So obviously as we get later in these series and teams' backs are up against the wall, the coaches are going to run things tighter and tighter to try and keep the season alive or to end the other team's season. So probably expect similar rotations tonight. All right. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, excited for these 2 games. Just this. I was going to say, the line is 3 right now. I think the way to bet this is like just catch a live line, whoever it is, at like +6 or 7, because it's going to come down to the wire, right? So kind of tongue in cheek, but it's just insane how close these games have been in this series.
Yep, sounds good. All right, well, that will do it for this edition of Establish the Run's NBA Injury Analysis Show. As always, we ask for your support in promoting this free content by liking the video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are just shy of our goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So if you could head down below the video and like and subscribe, that really does mean a lot to us here at ETR. Helps us keep this content free and the information flowing for all you out there. If you want some more DFS analysis, we do have Mike and Drew behind the paywall tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern time. The time of that show will still remain the same despite the early tip-off at 6:30 Eastern. So if you are a subscriber, yeah, just note that show will be at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, as it typically is. And as Mike mentioned, he and Drew recorded a great podcast that will likely hit the feeds tomorrow. So you can catch the Establish the Run NBA podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you do want to join us behind the paywall, you can head to establishthorun.com/subscribe-NBA. Hopefully the prop streets keep treating us nicely as we transition from the end of this round 1 series into round 2. But that's been a fun start to the postseason for sure. So appreciate all you guys listening out there with us, and we'll try and keep up the success as the playoffs go along. Good luck out there. Enjoy the game 6s, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.